He called me worthless, humiliated me, and threw me out like trash. 5 years later, I stood in front of him, not as an employee, but as a man signing his final paycheck. He looked me dead in the eyes that day and said, "You'll never be anything more than a replaceable failure." That sentence carved itself into my soul like a scar. I can still hear his voice echoing in my head, sharp and cold, like metal scraping against metal. I remember standing there in the middle of that office, my hands trembling, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would tear through my chest. Everyone was watching. My colleagues, people I used to laugh with, eat lunch with, they looked away as if I'd suddenly become invisible. My boss smirked, satisfied, as if breaking someone's spirit was part of his job description. That was the day he fired me. But what he didn't know was that it was also the day he lit the fire that would one day burn his entire empire down. Before we begin the story of failure, revenge, and redemption, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to Vault of Tales for more stories that heal our souls, ignite our hearts, and remind us of what we're truly capable when the world counts us out. Let's begin. The cold click of the office door shutting behind me still echoes. I stood in the corridor of glass and polished steel, my badge clipped to the lapel of a jacket I'd worn to look professional, confident. My boss's voice, sharp as a whip crack, cut through the hush of that corridor. "You're worthless. Pack your things." That moment lasted less than 10 seconds. But for me, it stretched into an entire season of darkness. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as I gathered papers, my heart thudding like someone hammering at the inside of my chest. I remember the stale scent of recycled air, the quiet hum of the elevator shaft, the realization of what the words meant. Worthless, fired, expendable. And yet somewhere in that collapse, something stirred, a seed of refusal. A flicker of rage, a whisper of possibility. I'm Alex and I work for R&M Enterprises, a regional manufacturing firm tucked away in the business park outside the city. It was 2024, late summer. I had started there fresh from university, idealistic, eager, believing I could make a difference, build something meaningful. My boss was Jonathan Reese, charismatic, demanding, polished. Under his leadership, I learned to handle clients, manage a team, chase targets. I did it with fire. I believed in his vision. But then the tide turned. It wasn't one big explosion. It was a rift forming quietly beneath the surface. I remember a project. We were tasked with launching a new line of eco-friendly packaging. I poured my energy into it. Late nights, spreadsheets, prototypes, sample runs, a team relying on me. At the presentation, I thought we'd nailed it. But Jonathan frowned. "Your numbers are fine," he said, voice low, "but you lack backbone. You're not driving this." My heart sank. I tried to stand taller. I tried to defend the team. But he wouldn't hear it. Days later, I found myself sidelined, asked to take smaller tasks, told my performance was acceptable but not remarkable. I tried to fight. I met with him. I said, "What's wrong?" He leaned back in his leather chair, his gaze cold. "You're not cut out for this. I need someone who takes the heat, not someone who complains." I left the office with a taste of ash in my mouth, taste of defeat dawn-marked in the smell of stale coffee and early morning traffic. And then the day came. I arrived early. My schedule had changed. I prepared something bold. Walking down the corridor, I looked at my reflection in the glass walls, tired, disappointed, but still upright. I knocked on Jonathan's door. He said, "Sit." I did. He looked at my folder, his face expressionless. After 5 minutes, he set it aside. He said, "I've decided to let you go. Effective immediately. You've shown potential, but not enough. I need winners." And then the words, "You're worthless." My world tilted. I asked, "Worthless?" He nodded. I stood up, left. The door hissed closed behind me. The corridor seemed longer than ever, the hum of the AC louder. I walked out into the parking lot, the late summer heat hitting me like a wave, sweat on my palm where I gripped the car door handle. For nights I lay awake in my small apartment, walls painted white, shelves sparse, the street lamp glow sliding through the blinds. I asked, "Who am I now? What value do I have?" I saw that phrase again and again, worthless. It scorched me, yet in the burn of that insult something hardened deep inside. I canceled social plans. I withdrew. I read books on business, watched interviews of people who'd been knocked down and climbed back. I walked in the park where leaves were turning yellow, the wind crisp. I felt small, but I started to notice the smell of damp earth after rain, the rusty red of fallen maple leaves, the dull ache in my muscle from walking miles. I began to reclaim my body from the shock. I started a side project, a small online consultancy for local startups, helping them refine processes, reduce waste, optimize packaging. It wasn't glamorous. It was evenings, weekends, my laptop perched on the coffee table, takeout cup stacking. I felt the thrill again, the quiet hum of ideas, the gentle click of keys at midnight. I built something. I gathered clients. I charged what I was worth, even if I still didn't feel I was worth it. Weeks turned into months. Our consultancy grew slowly but steadily. I hired a freelance designer, a logistics assistant. I rented a small studio space, a bright room with a large window overlooking a cobbled alley. I decorated the space with warm lamps, a plant that stood tall in the corner, and a corkboard full of sketches and sticky notes. The plants sat in terracotta pots. Their green leaves offered hope. Meanwhile, back at R&M, I kept an eye on the company's direction. I read the filings. I followed my old colleagues on LinkedIn. I heard rumors. Jonathan's leadership was being questioned. The eco-friendly line we'd worked on had failed to deliver as promised. The packaging had flaws, waste increased. The investors were restless. I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and dread. Then came the moment that changed everything. I got a call. A mid-level manager from R&M asked if I'd like to meet. Curiosity rose. I entered a cafe. Oakwood tables, latte steam rising, faint jazz vinyl in the background. We talked. He said the company was looking to sell part of its operations, packaging line, warehouse, assets. I listened, heart thumping. He asked, would I consider buying it? Me? He paused. We think you have the agility we don't. My breath caught. I paused. My mind raced. I thought about the day he called me worthless. I thought about the nights at home, the reclamation of dignity. I thought about the small consultancy, the clients, the plant pots, the sketches. I said, yes. Suddenly everything pivoted. We arranged meetings. I tapped into savings, got investors, sealed deals. I stepped into a world I never imagined. Asset transfers, legal contracts, warehouse walkthroughs, forklifts, pallet racks stretching like canyons, fluorescent lights buzzing in cavernous rooms. I walked those aisles, smell of cardboard, scent of machine oil and dust. I felt alive. My old boss watched from afar as I took control of the operations. I met the workers, the supervisors. I listened to their stories. I walked the line at midnight as machines cooled, conveyor belts stopped, hum faded. I said, what can we do better? They told me. I watched how hands worked, gripping tools, checking gauges, wiping sweat. I learned humility and leadership. As I integrated the acquired business, I found opportunities. The packaging line could be more sustainable. I redesigned workflow. I invested in automation. I implemented a profit-sharing plan for employees. The change was slow. Some resisted. I remember the old warehouse manager, grizzled, arms strong from decades of lifting. He asked, you think you can fix this place? I looked him in the eye. I don't want to fix it. I want to build it together. He nodded. We shook hands. The day we turned the first profit under the new regime will stay with me. A simple email, net profit positive, Q2. I read it standing by the window, rain tapping the glass, smell of wet asphalt rising. I closed my eyes and let it land. I had done it. From fired, worthless, to owner, leader, the irony wasn't lost. I thought of Jonathan's words. I felt the scar, and I also felt the power of what I'd built. We organized a meeting. My old boss attended as part of the transition. The boardroom was glass-walled, the city skyline behind us hazy with dusk. Jonathan looked at me. He said quietly, you've changed things. I nodded, offered my hand. He shook it. He said, I underestimated you. That moment closed a chapter. It didn't erase the pain, but it reframed it. In the months that followed, I reflected on what this journey meant. I realized the word worthless had been a mirror, not a sentence. It showed me how I saw myself and how others saw what I was, not yet what I could be. I learned that value is not declared by those above you. It's discovered, earned, lived. I learned leadership is not about proving someone wrong. It's about proving something right. That possibility, resilience, connection matter. Today I stand at the edge of this enterprise, looking back at where I came from and forward to what's next. I make decisions that affect lives, communities, outcomes. I walk the factory floor, hear the machines, feel the vibration of industry, smell the mix of cardboard and new machinery, listen to laughter in the break room when someone realizes a shared profit for the first time. I feel grounded. The journey from the firing to the buying taught me more than business. It taught me dignity. It taught me story. It taught me that when someone calls you worthless, you get to decide whether that becomes your truth or just a challenge to meet. So if you're hearing those words today, someone told you you're worthless, you've been passed over, you've been told you don't belong, listen to them. Let them hurt you, but don't let them bury you. The weight of the word can become fuel. The end of a job can be the start of your story. The closing of a door, the first step into a new building you'll build yourself. Thank you for being here. If you've been through something similar, share it in the comments. What did being called worthless make you feel? Did you let it define you or reshape you? I'd love to hear your story. If you found this story meaningful, hit the like button, subscribe, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's heal together.